I'm State Representative Stephen Bloom. We're now almost a quarter of the way through our new fiscal year, and Pennsylvania is still without a budget. This is irresponsible and ridiculous. Governor Wolf's veto of the General Assembly's balanced budget plan on June 30th is financially crippling our schools and the human services organizations that help our most vulnerable friends, neighbors, and community members. I've been in conversation with local service providers, and they are rightfully concerned about what will happen to their clients, foster children, people with intellectual disabilities, and families in distress, to name a few. Some of these organizations are being forced to borrow money at significant expense to keep providing much-needed assistance to the community. To those sacrificing, thank you. Your diligent, compassionate spirit is sincerely appreciated. Even our kids are being used for political leverage by a governor determined to raise taxes on the hardworking taxpayers. Under Governor Wolf, the state has already skipped more than $1 billion in payments to our schools. This is money they need to pay bills and keep classrooms operating. We can and must do better than this. While some may agree with Governor Wolf's massive tax hikes, the vast majority of people I've spoken with in our community are telling me to hold the line on taxes and release funds for essential services immediately. This is why I supported our recent effort in the House to override the governor's veto of agreed-to funding amounts for critical programs like rape crisis centers and services for children with special needs. Unfortunately, even where our budget lines met or exceeded the funding requested by the governor, he and his allies blocked our effort. I believe that since you still have to keep paying taxes during the budget impasse, you also deserve to see those tax dollars put to good use. Today, I joined a majority of my House and Senate colleagues in voting to extend yet another lifeline to our hard-pressed schools and community services. Whether that lifeline reaches them or gets pulled away again rests solely with the governor. Alarmingly, the governor has already signaled that he will veto our emergency funding package of state and federal dollars. He claims the emergency funding is just a gimmick being used to prevent him from getting the $12.8 billion in tax and spending increases he's been demanding. My response to the governor is this: holding individuals, families, victims of crime and abuse, people with disabilities, schools and school children as fiscal hostages while pushing to impose a massive and unprecedented tax and spend agenda is reckless, selfish, and hurtful. It's one thing for Governor Wolf to have big ideas for collecting and spending more taxpayer money. I can respectfully disagree with the governor on that. He has every right to want to spend more of your tax dollars, just like you and I have every right to want to spend fewer of your tax dollars. But it's another thing altogether for the governor to block urgently needed funding in amounts that everyone agrees on, just because he's not getting his way. That's like setting your whole house on fire because it turns out you can't afford that fancy new room addition you wanted to build. It's foolish, it's dangerous, and innocent people get hurt. The governor's not helping anyone by blocking agreed-to funding for the most vulnerable and needy Pennsylvanians. For the good of the Commonwealth, I urge him to put away his veto pen and enact our emergency funding bill.